daughter. Shirley is my grandma. So I have a couple stories. Me and Mimi had a long running track of butting heads quite frequently. We were one of the same, so if you guys in the same room, an argument was sure to follow. But me and Chelsea spent many summers with Mimi, and so where were we? I don't even remember.
It was like in fall, like the pumpkin patch, or
we were somewhere, and Chelsea
in the middle of nowhere.
in the middle of nowhere. And Chelsea and I, per usual, were arguing in the back, and for whatever reason, Chelsea wanted out of the car. It was you that wanted out of the car, right?
I thought she told me to get out of
So Chelsea, of course, being stubborn like we all are as her grandchildren, said, "Oh, okay, then let me out." So Mimi pulled over, Chelsea got out, and Mimi took off driving. And of course, me being in the car still screaming for her to stop, because obviously I didn't want anything. Chelsea's with her soccer legs running down the road. Mimi finally stopped probably a good quarter mile to a half a mile down the road, and then pulled over and said, "You won't get out again, will you?" And there was another time we were headed on a road trip somewhere, and Chelsea and I, we were in a hotel room. I don't know why I remember this, but Chelsea and I, of course, arguing about something. And she said, if y'all don't be quiet, they're going to call the cops on y'all. If y'all aren't quiet, they're going to call the cops on you. They're going to think we're over here beating you to death. We're going to call the cops on you. And for whatever reason, just sheer coincidence, there were some cops outside, and we could see their lights. And she said, "I told you, they're coming to get you." And so we promptly shut up and went to bed because we were terrified that the cops were going to come take us. And then some of y'all will laugh at this. So I'm actually adopted. I'm Native American. We went to Mexico. How old was I, Mom? 5? And my grandmother told me that they were going to think I was a little Hispanic kid. They weren't going to let me back. So to go on vacation with my family, because she said, "You might as well kiss your family goodbye. Nobody's going to let you back over." And that was just the kind of stuff. She loved to prank us, and she loved to tease us, and she loved to scare the living crap out of us. So that's probably the reason I enjoy scaring the crap out of people now too. I get quite the humor out of scaring people and pulling pranks on them and making them scared for no reason, because that's what she did to us. If she wasn't teasing us, or if we weren't bickering about something, she was finding some kind of mischief to stir up. But there's, many, many stories like that I'm sure a bunch of y'all know of her just being stubborn and hard-headed and doing what she could to get a laugh, even if it was, at somebody else's expense. So, that was pretty much it.
Thank you, Molly. Penny, do you have your little something that you put together? That was so good, I'll read it. Huh? Okay. Y'all gonna maybe ad-lib something. All right, here we go. There's 3 takeaways that Shirley wanted y'all to know today, okay? So, I guess it's my job to tell it to you. Shirley tried to live by the golden rule. The word try is key. Okay? So, anybody know a story around Shirley trying to live by the golden rule? Not quite getting there, but admitting that she was human, kind of like what Mark said at the front end. She knew the golden rule was what was right, and she would allow you as a human to have some exceptions to that rule, is what it amounts to. Why don't I just read what I wrote? I got a son that's a professional speaker. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Lee, why don't you come up here for a second? You don't want to? Huh? You got to have a funny joke somewhere in there. But hold on just a second. So Shirley had a challenge with this, but she was always encouraging us to live and let live, and had a unique understanding that she was as human and guilty as anyone else. and that the key was just to have the correct intention in your heart, and karma would take care of the rest. Okay? Number 2, don't believe everything you hear, right? She explored lots of different subjects, especially religion, and she was content to encourage people to take the best parts, the parts they liked, and to go ahead and leave the rest. She called herself a yellow dog Democrat that grew up in appreciation of what a guy named John L. Lewis did for her family and the coal miners of West Virginia. She didn't like hypocrites, and she did not mind picking a side of an argument just to get you fired up. Okay? So, if there wasn't a person around to give some resistance on the matter, she would step up and be the resistance. Okay? So, we all need a mission. Actually, that's kind of a spin on the way I put it. I think Shirley would want you to know today that her mission is in good hands with us, the family. So, she did a great job. You might say her personal mission was to look out for people, and anybody who was getting the wrong end of the deal would get her assistance. And she was active in a lot of the groups, a lot of women's groups at church and through AA. In her younger days, she was, I guess you would call her a setter straighter, right? So it didn't matter if she knew you or not, didn't matter if she was right or not. If you said it kind of wrong, she was going to set you straight. That's it, y'all. That's it for me. I appreciate, we do all have a story to tell, and mine was basically that, for me, Shirley was an automatic. You never felt any fear whatsoever anywhere in the country that you ever were with Shirley. She was a force, like a force field. Just no antagonist would get close, put it that way, right? And so essentially, it was her job to watch out over us, and it is my job to make sure she didn't feel any fear in her later life. So there you go, on my watch. Thank y'all for coming, and thank you, Pt2.
Hey. I got a couple of stories. As an infant, I was a runner, okay? I know this because my earliest childhood memory is me being a toddler somewhere between 2 and 3, running from mom. I managed to get away, and I was heading out, and I just remember her yelling and chasing me. Obviously, she eventually caught me. That's one story. The next story is, those who know me real well know that I'm a musician, first and foremost. I love playing music, and I owe that all to mom, starting in church choir, and eventually she put me in piano lessons, and I didn't practice. And then those became organ lessons, and again, I didn't practice. And then got into junior high band and played the trumpet, and I started practicing. And but I wanted a guitar. I wanted a guitar really bad. I mean, as a child, I remember Kathy had a Beatles fan club with her friends, and they allowed the little brother to kind of join in because I was a big Paul McCartney fan because he was left-handed, and I'm left-handed, and he played it the wrong way, and I played it the wrong way. And so I wanted to be a bass player. And Mom always said, "Oh, son, you don't want to be, I'm not going to buy you a bass. All you can do with bass is go plunk, 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 plunk." And literally, that's what she said. You can just go plunk, 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 plunk. "You want a guitar?" I go, "No, I want a bass." And so her and Dad, no doubt saved up money they didn't have and bought me this guitar, all right? Which I promptly, guitars have these 6 pegs on the head, all right? I cut the top 2 off so it'd have 4 like a bass ought to have, and cut my own guitar nut out of a tree branch, and I got a spanking, all right? And so I was probably 9 or 10 at that point. And then it wasn't until 8th grade that they agreed that I could ask Santa for an electric guitar. I agreed that I would accept an electric guitar and not mutate it. All right, so I got the electric guitar and started playing, and then Kathy was dating a guy at the time who had a little brother who was also a guitar player, and they're no longer dating, but me and that little brother have been lifelong friends and players together. And finally, I think it was my sophomore year, I finally saved the $30 necessary to buy this used bass off of a friend's brother. All right, and that was my first bass, and I've not looked back since. And I brought home my first paycheck as a bass player, and Mom allowed that. Okay, well maybe you are a bass player. But so I've pretty much dedicated my life. I play all kinds of instruments actually, but when I work for a living, I'm playing bass because I love it. And but I will never forget, because that's what I do most of the time. And the last story, Marty and Shasta lived in a little house in Hutchins, okay, and they had just had Jenny, and they had moved out, and the house was available for rent. The rent was dirt cheap, and I just got out of the Air Force and started college, and 110 a month for a little house seemed pretty darn reasonable at the time. You know, this was 1980. That was really good rent. And so, of course, I moved in. And but the neat thing about it is, I was living in Hutchins. I worked in Lancaster, which was where they were living at the time. And so every morning, and I had a swing shift job, so I didn't have to get to work until like 11. All right, so every morning I just dropped by their place for an hour or so, having coffee with Mom and Dad, and that was just the luckiest period of my life, because I really got to build a friendship with my parents, as opposed to just being a kid, you know, and we were all adults at that time, and those are some of my most cherished memories, because we'd talk deep philosophical subjects, you know, for a couple hours, and then I'd have to go to work. But I was very fortunate to have that experience, and it was kind of like the Athenia Street experience, you know, just everybody just next door, you know. I mean, Kathy lived across the street from us, and I know that was Nick's second home, if not his first. So I'm just really, really thankful to have such a strong, incredible female as a mother, because you know she taught us to respect women. She taught us to treat them well, I think, and it's a debt I'll never be able to repay. But I'll try and do it every day by just being nice to the people I know. All right, that's what I got.
Just waiting for y'all to get warmed up here.